guys, what is up? Bit of a different video for you this time around. To make a long story short, my F-Type is in for some well-needed, much overdue warranty service work. So I have a Jaguar E-PACE. So since I'm stuck with this for the better part of a week while my car gets fixed, I figured I would do a little bit of a car review type video and give you my thoughts and feedback on this E-PACE as I drive it over the next week. And just pick up the car, dropped off my own car. I'm off to meet some friends for drinks and dinner. I've already got some thoughts about it, and we'll see if maybe you guys agree with me. So let's jump into it. So yeah, back from dinner. It's 11 o'clock at night. Initial thoughts, I can see why this car is a little bit more down market, definitely cheaper feeling than the F-Type. These knobs in particular are probably the most hilarious feature. This and these buttons here, these are like so cheap. And this knob is like, there's like no feedback. So there's no like click or tactility to it. You don't quite know when it's kind of set. You really have to, like when you spin it like really fast, you figure like that's like 6 notches, but it only goes up a little bit. It's kind of odd. I do like that it has the heated seats that you just turn like that. No cooled on this. This is a base model. I guess I should preface, yeah, this is an E-PACE. It's a P250, I believe, is the model. This one has some additional settings in the screen that my F-Type doesn't, like the eco data. This screen is the same thing. I don't love it on the F-Type, and I love it even less here on this car. This screen is like extremely angled. So like that is the angle of the screen, which like that's pretty steep. I don't know if anybody else finds, but my normal driving position is like back here. So to reach like down that far, it's a bit of a stretch. I don't think that they should have angled it so much, but the whole dash is raked like that. Moving to the steering wheel, this is very typical Jaguar. This is almost identical to the one in my F-Type, except my F-Type's is a lot more comfortable. I guess it's like leather wrapped. This is just hard. The weird thing for me is actually this screen up here. So yeah, it's the new Jaguar, heads up infotainment system that's above the dash. It's great with the digital dials, but it doesn't have all of the sort of same options that my F-Type has, which is very strange because this unit here is the same. So you'd assume this one would also be the same. You don't get the same display options. You get almost nothing. So a little odd. Not sure why they made that decision to have that, a very different system from this. A little bit disjointed, if you ask me. Otherwise, huge cup holders and a huge amount of storage. This goes way in there. And then, of course, the glove box is a really good size there as well, too. The only other thing I've noticed, and you probably won't be able to see it, but there's not really a proper footwell. So in the F-Type, there's like a metal piece that you would sit your foot on. Here, it's just material, like felt material. And it's so far up that in my normal driving position, my legs are not sitting very well. So it's a little uncomfortable. But again, with this being the E-PACE and not an F-PACE, it is smaller. But I think long term, this would not be a vehicle for somebody as tall as me. I'm 6'1". If you're a taller person, it would be uncomfortable long term to be in a car like this. And again, you won't really be able to make it out. But with my seat in the driving position I'm normally in, there is absolutely no room for passengers in the back. The switchgear is all exactly the same. Down here, a few differences with parking brake being up here versus down here. It's odd, again, they put the volume rocker up there. In the F-Type, it's down here, and it's actually more convenient when you're driving to have it down here than having to reach, again, all the way up there. Auto start, stop on and off, traction control on and off. Those are your drive select modes, so you do have a few different mode options. Eco, rain, ice, snow. It has a dynamic and a sport mode, and yes, it does have the sport shifter. So there you go. This is all kind of cheap up here, but first impressions, I can't see this being worth 60 grand. That's my personal thought, and we'll see if it changes as I progress into my week. It's now day 3 with the E-PACE. A lot of the things that I sort of noticed on the first day I had it, those gripes haven't really gone away too much. Don't get me wrong, it's a super economical car, this P250, even with the all-wheel drive. It is a little sort of like weird in the corners. I feel like it's not quite as planted as I'm used to, even in the Volkswagen Tiguan that I own myself, which is sort of my daily driver. That's way more planted. Going through the corners, it's always super flat. I never feel like it's leaning or it doesn't feel like it's got any body roll. This thing's got some insane body roll on it. You can even feel like the steering wheel sort of snaps back on you because the body roll is so dramatic. I also really hate, it's been quite annoying, every time I get into the car, the engine start-stop button is like behind the stalk that controls the wipers. It's super annoying. I don't know why they put it there. Yeah, I mean, all in all, not a bad car, but I just, the price point really has me confused. It feels like a much lower down the run priced vehicle, but again, this thing's like probably in the $60,000 price range, which is crazy to me. The other thing too, it's kind of odd, is the ride is so super rough. Like, it is odd for an SUV. I understand it is a Jaguar and it's meant to be a little sportier, perhaps. It's uncomfortably rough for a vehicle that sits this high up. When you hit or go over, a rough patch of road, you are not expecting it to be as aggressive as it is. There's actually an F-PACE up ahead of me who's booking it, and I can hear it. It sounds great. This car probably does not sound anywhere near like that. This thing's got it's got no guts. It's a Jaguar. It's supposed to be a little more sporty, a little more lightweight and nimble, and this car is none of those things. It's not fast. It's not nimble. It doesn't handle well at all. The cornering is awful. The cornering is so awful. And I'm not even taking it fast. I just, that was just a normal turn at a stoplight, and it just felt like it was tipping over, and then it just sort of jolted back in. It's really interesting to me. I mean, I know I have been drawing a lot of parallels to the F-Type, and obviously this vehicle is not supposed to be like an F-Type. It's a very different type of vehicle, a very different format, but I think the essence of Jaguar is still supposed to be there in some regard, right? I mean, it's not just supposed to abandon everything that the brand is built on. You know what, I will give it credit where credit is due. It's quite quiet in the cabin. There's not a lot of road noise. All in all, I think it would be a pretty safe daily driver. I mean, I don't think you would hate if you got into this car and you were understanding of some of the shortcomings of it. And knowing what else is in the market, and especially at this very competitive price point, between 50 and 70,000, you can get some crazy bang for your buck in the vehicle space. I just don't think it's special enough to deserve the price point that it is. It honestly doesn't feel special enough to deserve the Jaguar badge either, to me. All right, so we're here, and by we, I mean me and my dog. We're headed out, visit some family. Second last day in the E-PACE. You can see, again, I tried to show this the other day, but my seat's in my normal driving position. No normal-sized person would be able to fit themselves in there. Good amount of room in the front, though. The footwell situation, again, I don't know if you can see that, but not a lot of room there for the feet. Most of the things I said the other night while I was driving still ring true. It's just a little bit cheap feeling in here, and it's got no guts and nothing really special in terms of driving dynamics on it. So maybe tomorrow will be the day that changes my mind, but I don't think so. All right, guys, so 6th day, I've returned the E-PACE. I have my F-Type back, got a bunch of stuff taken care of and fixed up on it. So I just wanted to recap my experience with the E-PACE and let you know how I thought about it after about a week, 6 days of using it and driving it every day. There's a couple of things I did like. It handled quite well in the snow. The last couple of days that I had it, it's been snow on the ground or snowing, and it did handle very well, which is good. It is an SUV and it had a snow dedicated driving mode, so I expected that to be the case, but you never know. It is, of course, a Jaguar, so definitely a plus if you're considering the E-PACE
It's very much a good all year long driver.
Do you want to say something?
I also thought the E-PACE had pretty good visibility, especially at the front. The back was so-so, but even on my Tiguan, it's got a very small opening for the rear windscreen. So yeah, visibility was pretty good. A couple of blind spots in the back because of the large pillars, but otherwise, most of the time I had no issue seeing out and over. I could see the end of the car. The hood is not super long on it as it is in some other cars. So that was also a definite plus. And I think I mentioned it in one of the other clips, but I found it to be pretty efficient, pretty eco-friendly. I put about 650, 700 kilometers on it, and I still had about a quarter of a tank left. Filled it up before I returned it back to the dealership, and I think it only cost me about 45 bucks to get it back up to like 95% or whatever it is that I dropped it off with. So that for me is a pretty good economy. Now for my big gripes, and a couple of reasons that I would stay clear of the E-PACE if you are considering it. But the first being the size of the car. So as I noted, it's quite tight. Me being 6'1", I had a lot of trouble being comfortable in it. My feet didn't really sit in the wells because there wasn't really a big enough place for my feet to sit. But everything else about the car, the proportions were so small. In my normal driving position, there was no room for anybody in behind me. And if I had two people the same size as me, my best friend is 6'5", it would be game over for him in that car. He would not have a good time going for a drive in it. Steering position was good, but yeah, otherwise it was just a little too tight and cramped, and my legs just never sat right. And I would say if you're a taller person, this car is not for you, especially if you're a taller person that likes to travel with a lot of people. And of course, really the biggest reason that I would maybe say to avoid the E-PACE was simply the fact that for the price point up here in Canada, they start in the low 50s. The model I was driving as equipped was a $61,000 car. For 61 grand, I can think of so many better vehicles that are better equipped, bigger, more spacious, certainly more luxurious, and definitely feel more premium and upmarket than the E-PACE did. The switchgear was just cheap and finicky. It didn't feel like you were doing anything. It had no tactility and feedback, and that was really annoying. And even just the whole layout of the dash with the extremely raked, lining, the touchscreen, which in Jaguars, especially modern Jaguars, like 90% of the controls are touchscreen based. Everything from climate control, direction, etc. is all done on there. There's very few buttons that actually control important functions. And it was extremely annoying to have to reach out from my normal driving position to touch any of that stuff. Even the volume knob was in a really odd, super far away position, and it's really compact for that price. So yeah, guys, that's sort of my mini review and hands-on experience driving the Jaguar E-PACE. What do you guys think about this car? Do you agree with my thoughts? Are you a fan of it? Let me know down in the comments. And yeah, I will be back with another one very soon. Thanks for watching, guys.